profile.
Great.
Perfect.
And here come some participants. So that's great. Our participant numbers are climbing.
Okay, so Vimo was, there we go. Should I mute myself? Because I could hear myself twice.
Turn your sound off on your computer. That's what I do.
Okay. So my sound is off. Can you still hear me?
Okay, and our participant numbers continue to climb. It's just 1 minute to the hour or so, so we'll give us just another few minutes and then we'll be ready to go. You can probably share your screen anytime you want to, Alexi.
Perfect.
Everybody knows what they're here for. Make sure they're in the right room. Okay, and it is officially 10 a.m. here in British Columbia, and it is, that means 1 o'clock in Ontario, Eastern Standard Time, and 2 Atlantic, so we are covering the country for our session today. Welcome everybody to another one of our career services bi-weekly webinars. Today's topic is exploring careers during COVID-19. I'm Dr. Deirdre Pickerel. I'm the Dean of Student Success for York University and Toronto Film School and Acting Director of Career Services. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by my team here. Alexi Verikin is your lead today. And we've also got Linda Folster and Natalia Markman, who are our career services team for Yorkville and Toronto Film School. This is a really important topic today. And so I'm glad to have you all here. Remember, if you're watching us by live stream, you can still participate in the Mentimeter, but you won't be able to engage with Alexi in the Zoom chat or in the Zoom Q&A. So don't hesitate to pop over and log into Zoom if that's easier, but definitely participate in the Menti. So with no further ado, I am going to actually exit stage left and leave you in the hands of my very capable team. Alexi, have fun. This is a great topic. Thanks for doing it. And I'm signing off.
Awesome. Thank you, Deirdre, for the introduction, and welcome everyone to the webinar. Today we're going to be covering exploring careers during COVID-19. Before we get started, I would ask if everyone could have their cell phones ready. We are using Mentimeter, so I will be asking you questions throughout the webinar, and I always welcome your responses to it. There's going to be instruction on how to sign in. Please follow them when you see the slide. But yes, let's get started on our topic. So a little bit about myself. So my name is Alexi Verikin, and I'm one of the career service advisors at Yorkville University. Before this, a little bit about my background. For the past 8 years, I've worked in youth employment initiatives in the nonprofit sector. All the programs have been sponsored by the government and tailored towards helping youth 15 to 29 find work, overcoming barriers, and building towards their career. The most recent job I had was as a job developer, where the role was to network with employers, find out exactly what they're looking for, and bridge that gap between employers and youth to try and help them build on their career. I've been doing this for a little while, so no matter what your personal barriers or struggles are going through, we could usually connect with you and help you overcome those, whether you're a newcomer or new to employment or going through physical or mental limitations. We're here to support you. So that's a little bit about myself. So this is going to be the first Menti question, and just to kind of figure out who's in the audience today. So when you have a moment, log into the website above, menti.com, and try and let us know a little bit about what program you're part of. So either the BBA, BID, MACP, or are you part of the acting and film, fashion design, film production, video game design, graphic design, or are you one of the external partners where you're not actually registered with our school but want to take part in this webinar, or if I've not listed you. So please let me know and I'll give you a little bit of time. Ooh. Right. And if you have any questions throughout the webinar, we will be having a Q&A at the end. And one of my colleagues, Natalia, will be monitoring the Q&A section. So you could always leave a reply there and we'll try and get to your question when we can. So I'll give about 30 more seconds just for everyone to get the program going. Awesome. So we have a few people from our Master Psychology program, a few business, a few from our interior design, some of the film people, and an external partner. It's really interesting. Thank you for letting me know. And hopefully more people will start coming by as well moving forward. But it's good to see the kind of the breakdown of who we have. So a little bit about the agenda. What are we actually going to be covering for this? So step one, the state of the world. What industries are actually thriving? Which industries are struggling during COVID? We're also going to go into considering career opportunities. What kind of things should we look for, and what kind of jobs could we apply? And afterwards, I'm going to talk a little bit about networking and informational interviews. So once we know what the world looks like, we know what kind of jobs we want. Next step is how do we get to them? So that's going to be the goal for this webinar. So next Menti question. What industries do we think are hit the hardest by COVID-19? Please type in your answer when you get a moment. Let me know if we're having a problem typing in everything. Oh, there it is. Yes, tourism. Oh, there's all the replies. Okay. Yes, tourism, restaurants, movie theaters, concert venues, sports arenas, hospitals, hospitality. Yeah, actually, a lot of these ones, typically when we first started with the lockdown procedures, they tend to be the ones hit the hardest. But let's see the official list on just how much damage COVID has caused. So when COVID-19 first hit and the economy kind of shrank in, these were the industries that were hit the absolute hardest. Scenic tourism, parks and casinos, clothing stores, laundry and personal services, dental offices, motion pictures and sound recording, restaurants and bars, furniture and home furnishings, sports and performing arts, and hotels. On the percentages beside, it's just how much they got hit. For like transportation, about 62% of their industry shrank. Same thing with clothing stores, dental offices, restaurants. So it did have quite a number on the state of the world. Since COVID started, some of these industries have started to bounce back, which is awesome, mostly because of either policy changes or with certain restrictions being lifted, such as like bars and restaurants. Although they initially took a really big hit, some of them started opening up again for takeout or pickup and delivery. Dental offices as well for some of the policy changes around their personal way they were able to start operating again. So even though a lot of these industries did get hit pretty hard at the beginning, some are starting to recuperate a little bit. Which industries do you think are doing the best, that are actually doing better during COVID? I'll give everyone a little bit of time. Automobile, real estate. That's interesting. Online education, interior design, warehouses, online education. Education again, warehouses, automobiles, real estate, health services. Yes, definitely. So let's actually, thank you for sending your replies, but let's actually see what the numbers look like. So as far as the industries that were actually thriving a little better, some of them were the ones you've mentioned. Things like cleaning services, delivery services, grocery stores, liquor stores, game companies, fitness equipment, telehealth, tutoring services, used car, mental health, providers, home health providers, tech companies, and healthcare workers. So it is kind of what we were thinking, where the essential services, things like grocery stores and like Rexall and stuff like that, all of them are thriving during this time. Plus a lot of tech companies, everything has gone digital now. So a lot of companies that manufacture laptops, headsets, and software to allow people to work from home are doing a lot better. And healthcare, yeah, their nurses and doctors are in very high demand right now, and just general staff in those ones because of currently the world, how it looks like. Same thing with tutoring services. With schools being closed or a lot of students working from home, tutoring services have picked up. The one that really kind of surprised me was the liquor store and the entertainment. One of my friends tried to work out at home during lockout and couldn't find weights on the continent. They were just nowhere to be found as well. So there are some things that were in much higher demand now as of COVID. And it opens up a lot more opportunities for us as well. So now that we know a little bit about what the world actually looks like, some of the companies that are doing well and some companies that are struggling, now let's focus on our employment. And to find a job, the first thing to remember is how important your mindset is. Finding a job is tough, and it is really easy to fall into a fatalistic kind of viewpoint of the world, of everything's struggling, what am I doing? But keep in mind that finding work is a challenge in its own right. Before COVID even hit, that it is a full-time job to find a full-time job. And it's just something to kind of keep working at. Try to remember that the world has changed, that you can't hold yourself to the same standards that you did pre-COVID. If it only took you 2-3 weeks to find work last time, and now it's 2-3 months and you're still looking, yeah, the world has changed, and that is absolutely normal. You are not alone in this. The reality of finding work is that there might be 300 resumes sent to a position, 20 people interviewed, and 1 person hired. And that's kind of the reality of it. So it is very much a numbers game and a patience game. You are running a marathon, not a sprint. And to kind of keep in mind that unemployment is not a personal failure, that a lot of people are experiencing something similar, and it just takes one place to say, yes, we want to hire you, to know where you're going to be, right? If you're sending out resumes and you're getting interviews, great. You know your resume works. You just need to polish up your interview skills to be the one they select. If you're sending out resumes and not getting reply, let's have a look at your resume. Let's tailor it up and see if we could have a better chance next time around, right? The more places you apply to, the more chances you get. And hopefully through this webinar, we'll kind of go through a few other options that you may have not considered. But if you only applied to 2-3 places and didn't get a phone call back, it's a numbers game. You'll have to just apply to more and more places. And like I said, it just takes the one to know where you're going to be. Right? The world is struggling, and don't be so hard on yourself. What kind of questions could we ask? So questions to ask yourself. Where do I want to contribute? What problem do I want to solve? What kind of person do I want to be? And what's important to me? Right? That once you graduate, your education opens up a lot of doors, and finding out where exactly do I want to be in that. So think to yourself, if my industry is currently struggling, what other key aspects do I actually want to do? Who do I want to help? Or what areas do I want to contribute? Do I want to work with people? Okay. Do I want to work with children, or do I want to work with certain products or manufacturing? Think to yourself what's important to you, and start branching out to maybe different industries or different things that you feel will hit a lot of those key aspects for them. But self-reflection is important, and there are a lot of really good tools to kind of help along that way as well. But when you graduate and ready to hit the labor market, it's a good place to start of doing a self-assessment to see, okay, I've graduated, what is my next step? Also focus on your transferable skills, right? University and college provide you with a lot of experience and skills that you've developed. And it's important to kind of make a tally of what have I learned, what kind of things, abilities have I gained. And keep in mind that only about 27% of graduates end up working in the field of studies. So it's good to know what skills I've developed, where could I apply them, and what industries would really care for it. You may get a formal education in one field. So say if you're a film student, you've got education in lighting, staging, and everything like that, but the film industry is not doing too well. Where other aspects could I apply those same knowledge? Maybe in marketing or event planning. For same thing with business or counseling. For it, find out the transferable skills, the abilities that you've gained through that, and where else they could apply. If you're a BID student and you know AutoCAD, what other companies require AutoCAD? That might be a good place to go. Unconventional employment opportunities. A lot of times I get students coming to us saying, I've graduated with my master's psychology class, I've been applying to all the clinics, but I haven't gotten a reply back. Well, where else have you tried to apply? Or if we had accounting students who've applied to all the accounting firms and now just stuck waiting. Where else could we apply? What other places would hire someone of your skill set? And where are some places that may have been overlooked? Check out the industries that are off the beaten path, that you're not just forced to be in one industry. For instance, if you're an accounting graduate, you don't have to just work in an accounting firm. A lot of major companies require financial people as well, so you could go to companies directly on their website and see if they could utilize their skills. Or there's a lot of potential in video game design or software design. For it, if you are in the interior design program, you don't have to just work for commercial or corporate space planning. With your abilities in AutoCAD and a few others, you could be in furniture design, in hospital settings, helping with the layouts and flow of workplace. If you're in writing, for instance, you could contact, again, video game companies, entertainment companies for writing, marketing. A lot of hospitals really need people to help with their marketing materials and informational guides. Try and see what skills you've gained through your education, and what are some things that may have been overlooked. If you're in counseling and you can't find a place in a clinic, there are non-for-profit sectors and youth shelters that really need people, or insurance companies that are trying to help people return back to work, or even places like companies like Sephora or major brands like that. I also have counselors on staff. So try and consider what other options and what other skills you have at your disposal, and try and look for those jobs that aren't the most conventional ones. You could actually search up a lot of them per industry and find out what are some unique applications. Next Mentimeter question. What skills are most important for building a career through COVID-19? So kind of soft skills or hard skills that you think would make you the most competitive for it. Things like time management, flexibility. Resilience, definitely. Patience, adaptability. Patience again, honesty, empathy. Technology, yes. Leadership. Yeah, the world has changed, and adaptation is really important for all that. Wearing face masks for hours, yes, that is a skill within itself. And if you're public facing, definitely. Right. Time management, stress management, yes. And there's a lot of different ways to build on these skills. So top skills needed for post-COVID success. So a lot of the ones that everyone's mentioned: leadership, flexibility, adaptability, critical thinking, tech savvy, communication and emotional intelligence, creativity, and innovation. The world has changed, right? With a lot of companies going remote or digital, right? Suddenly being tech savvy becomes a lot more important. or critical thinking. Flexibility and adaptability when things don't quite go as planned. So a lot of employers are looking for a lot of these skills to kind of adjust to their um, the growing and changing environment, and emotional intelligence and communication to better understand that everyone is kind of going through a rough time, and to be able to connect with them. The good news is a lot of these things can be developed while you're at home. There are many ways to build on a lot of these skills that we think are necessary for employers. Places to start for skill developing. Looking for online classes that offer training in the field you are researching. Some may be offered for free or for low costs. There are websites that you could go to build on these things. Looking at online resources and webinars. The fact that you're a part of this webinar and some of the other ones we have, you're already building on some of those skills as well. And it's good to know what's available to you. You could also look for online tutorials. If technology is still something relatively new to you, or you don't feel as comfortable with it, you could actually look for online tutorials for programs like Excel, Team, Zoom, or Microsoft Office programs in general, because these are in high demand. And if you put on your resume that you have excellent knowledge of Excel, it's good to kind of look online and actually see how it is. Or for Teams, if an employer asks you, have you used Teams and you know how to set up meetings with multiple time zones, you'll have an answer for those things. So it is important to kind of brush up on them. And like I said, there are free resources available to you. One of my favorites is just YouTube. Anything you want to learn, you can usually find tutorials on that. Just type in Excel tutorial in YouTube and you could find a lot of that kind of training. A lot of it is free. There's also Eventbrite. Has a free section for webinars that you could go to and sit into a lot of classes and hear experts. There's also 10,000 Coffees that offer free webinars that you could be part of. And even if you want to take a class while you're there, there's online learning things as well. Like Harvard University has a bunch of training modules that you could sign up and work for. And even our career services, the people that we have here, myself and my colleagues, we're happy to sit down with you and help train in some of these things to build up on your skills, to polish up on your resume making or preparing for that interview. There are some paid services as well. One such thing is Skillshare that comes to mind that will offer training and classes. And you might be able to take on things that are not directly related to the field that you're interested in, but the topic that you want to learn about. And you could find ways to make it useful. Or when an employer asks you in an interview, how have you been spending your time during COVID? You could tell them, I've looked online, I've done all these trainings, and make yourself a little bit more competitive as well. When you're actually looking for work as well, one thing to consider is to look outside your neighborhood. A lot of people get stuck in the traditional thinking of, I need to find a job that's close to me, that I could drive to, that I could walk to, that's within a half-hour travel of me. With more and more jobs going digital, that geographic requirement is becoming less and less important for it. That right now, because a lot of companies have gone online or are doing remote capabilities, it actually opens our door to look outside of our immediate area into different cities, different provinces, even different countries if you really want. If there's not a lot of options in the town that you're in or in the city you're in, look for something closer to that. You could even consider different time zones for it. If you're in Ontario and really hate waking up in the mornings and you'd rather start your day at 12 instead of 9, check out British Columbia. See if Vancouver is hiring for then start your day at 12 and end at 8. And vice versa. If you are a morning person and the idea of finishing work at 2 is really appealing to you, but you're okay starting your day at 6, maybe do the opposite. Give them a call and see if there's any jobs available. But right now, distance is not a problem for it. With some jobs, some jobs are announced to be permanently remote. And because of that, we're actually seeing a large migration of people from the city to more suburban areas where the housing market is a lot more affordable, or a place where it's a little quieter to raise your kids. People don't have to live in downtown cores anymore. They're able to expand out, but and kind of take advantage of that. So yeah, if you're not having any luck in your immediate area, look around, see if there's other areas around you, or if there's a clinic or a company that you really want to work. You don't have to move for it. You can just apply to them now too. If you are going through online job postings and using websites like Indeed, if you go to the where section on the search bar and type in remote, companies will actually have changed their job postings to say if they're a remote job or if they're permanently or partly remote. So it's something to kind of look around. And even in my case, here at Yorkville University, I'm in Ontario, but my colleague, Deirdre and Linda, are in British Columbia, Fred, that we're still able to have those connections and work together and go through that even at vast distances. My interview was done entirely over Zoom. Fred. They're able to meet someone over Zoom and find out who they are without ever having to meet them face to face. That is something that we could take advantage of in this time. So let's talk a little bit about networking. So if we know where we're going to be applying to and going to that, how do we actually get in contact with some people? So we do have a fantastic webinar done a couple of weeks ago about networking. So I won't go into as much detail as they did around it, but I still want to cover a few things as part of finding a network. If you haven't seen this chart before, a brief rundown of what it actually is. So on one side is how employers want to hire people, and on the other side is how people tend to look for opportunities. Usually the way employers want to hire is different than how people want to get hired. Most employers don't like putting job postings out there. It is time consuming, it is expensive, and you might get hundreds of emails that now you have to pay someone to sit through and go through. An employer would much rather hire someone that already works for them and promote from within. So find someone that's at a lower level that wants to move up and advertise that way. Or they'll also look at the people who are part-time or volunteer for them. So that's a lot easier for them. No job postings, no hundreds of resumes to comb through. They just find someone they know how they work and hire them. If that doesn't work, then they'll talk to their coworkers and ask them for referrals. Who do you know that's good? Recommend me someone and skip that step. And if that doesn't work, then it's networking and word of mouth. So that's how they want to hire. But most people, I know myself included, we start off with looking at job postings online. We'll send out a few job postings and see if we get a reply back. And that could take days, weeks, months, as we just reply to every email. If that doesn't work, then we start asking our friends and family for help, or we might go to third-party events. So let's try and flip that and meet the employers where they want to be. So how do we get to the middle section and actually network with them directly? Next thing I want to cover is cold calls and informational interviews. But if you've never done a cold call or an informational interview, unlike a regular interview, the whole point of doing these style is to be the one that actually contacts the employer and asks them questions. You are the one requesting the interview to interview them. It is a great way to connect with industry professionals, find out what their trends are and what their requirements are, and kind of get to know a little bit more about that business that you're going into. It's a great way to find out information to know which path you want to take in school to lead you to there, or which places to avoid. Effectively, you're calling the company, asking to speak to their manager, and sitting down with them and asking them a few questions, right? Can you let me know a little bit about your company? How do you feel the trend is for your industry? Is there any new revelations? How often do you hire, or are you currently hiring, or are you currently on a hire freeze? How has COVID affected your line of work? What is your ideal candidate? And what kind of skills do you treasure? Do you think I would want to develop to be successful now? Typically, successful people want to talk about these things and want to share, and help in the knowledge to raise awareness of that. Keep in mind, a few points to keep in mind. A informational interview is a meeting you arrange with them, an opportunity to gain insight from experts, a chance to learn about the fit, a chance to add to your network. It is not a job interview. You are not calling them saying, hey, you hiring. No. The whole point of this is to sit down with someone, say, hey, send them a quick email saying, hey, I'm a student, I'm just about to graduate and want to learn a little bit more about the industry. Would I be able to schedule a 5-10 minute meeting with you and ask you a few questions that I had about the industry? That way you kind of make it sound like this is something that you are interested in, and you find out more about that company. How are you dealing with COVID? What are the trends of it? Are you happy with the position? A way for you to kind of understand what other industries are around and how to get to them. The important part about this is knowing that they are business professionals and they're busy people. You are asking them for a favor. So don't go directly at them with, hey, are you hiring? Please consider me. No. Show interest in the company. Find out more about it. So when you are applying to them, you have that inside knowledge that you know that they're looking for X, Y, and Z, and this is the path they take. So you could use that towards it. It's a great way to network. And even if that company is not directly hiring, you at least stay relevant in their mind. So if they are thinking of hiring someone, they may not go to a job posting. They might just remember, oh yeah, so-and-so called me a little while ago. They seemed interesting. Let me call them back, right? Or when they see your resume in the pile later on, they might remember, oh yeah, I had a good conversation with this person. So that's what those places typically are. Cold calling would be calling a company directly and saying, hey, is your manager available? Can I schedule a time to meet with them? Pre-COVID, it'd be, can I buy them coffee and talk to them? Post-COVID, it's probably going to be a Zoom message that you have. But it's a good way to reach out to people and connect with them. How do we actually find the people then? So if I actually wanted to set up a informational interview, what are some websites or how could I go about it? One of the more common ways is to go on LinkedIn, actually find professionals that way, or search them up and send them a quick message saying, hey, I'm recent graduate. I'm looking to find out a little bit more information about the program. Could I please schedule a time to meet with you? So you can find them on LinkedIn or Facebook or other means. There are also events that you go to for networking. The site eventbrite.ca is fantastic for those. You could actually look at free networking events and go into them and talk to people within your industry and kind of build on that. There are also websites where you could go where you could find industry-specific contact information. Things like hunter.io is a website that allows you to type in the company name and find out what their email structure is. Do they put the first name dot last name at the email address, or do they do first letter, full last name? You find, if you know the name of the person you want to contact, you could find out what their email extensions are. If you're in Ontario and you're looking for government jobs, not only can you go on the government job posting website, the gov.on, the government website to look at their job postings, there also has an info site that you could go to, and you could find out that person's email address or phone number and send them a message saying, hey, I'm looking to schedule an informational interview. Are you available? If you're an interior designer, both you should know either one of these websites. One of them's for the Arido is the Ontario one, or the IDIBC is for British Columbia, but it's a registered list of all people with the interior design title that you could actually search them up, finding out what kind of, who's the project manager, and sending them that reply. Keep in mind, calling people directly like this, it is a very powerful tool to connect with them, get to know them, and build on that network. But it's also something to be mindful that not to abuse it. Right? You are contacting people to ask for a favor and get to know the industry a little better. Do not harass them. Do not bombard them with messages saying, hey, you hiring, give me job for that. You will get ignored. One of my friends, she's a project manager at a company, and she told me that she had a person find her on Facebook, find her on LinkedIn, and find her on Facebook, find her on LinkedIn, and found her on her work email and started harassing her for that. This will hurt your opportunities, and companies keep databases, right? So if you are going down these methods to contact people directly, be mindful that you are there asking them for a favor and that you're just going through to build on those things. Once again, I do recommend networking events like Eventbrite. You could also look at certain non-for-profit employment industries have events as well for networking or Ask an Expert. Or you can even look at our webinars to see Ask an Experts and finding out information about industries that way as well. If you are looking for email addresses, here's an example of what hunter.io looks like. So when you actually go on the website itself, you could type in the company name and find out what their email structure is. So if you're trying to contact someone from a school or a high school or university, if you're planning to be a teacher, you could type in the name of the school and find out what their email address breakdown is. And as an example of this for yorkvilleu.ca, it'll show you how we do our email structures as well. Like I said, it is a very powerful tool. Make sure not to abuse it and to contact people when you really want to reach out and do that informational interview and find out more. If you want to know more about like scripts and how to properly contact people, I highly recommend our networking webinar that we had a couple of weeks ago, and I do recommend going through that. The last thing I want to cover is a quote that kind of rings true right now. Out of adversity comes opportunity, Benjamin Franklin. That the pandemic has shaken up how the world looks right now, with a lot of industries either going through permanent changes or having to adapt to that. But with that being said, opportunity does come arise. Now more than ever, you could work in companies that would have been too far for you, or be the change in industries that you feel like you could have an impact for. If you are going through project management, right now more than ever, a lot of companies are looking for ways to adjust to the new times and hiring practices and how to actually run their businesses. There are new opportunities being made from this. And it's important to kind of see how we could best adjust. Where do our skills lie and how do we get out there and actually look for those jobs? And yeah, thank you everyone for taking part in this webinar. Last thing I want to cover is that we are going to have a small question and answer section, that if you do have any questions that came up through this, please type them in chat and we'll try and get through a few of them as we can. We also have the information to our career services. So if you are looking for some extra help with building up your resume, preparing for that interview, or you're looking for labor market research, where do I even apply? How do I go about it? Feel free to reach out to us, make an appointment, and we'll sit down with you one-on-one. If you're part of Yorkville University, you could go to careerservices.yorkvilleu.ca. And if you're part of Toronto Film School, we have career services at torontofilmschool.ca. And we'll be happy to help you with each step of that way. So thank you for your time. And I'm going to open up the floor for question and Q&A section. Hi, Linda.
Thank you so much, Alexi, for that wealth of really important information. I think it's just really important to emphasize that despite the fact that we're experiencing a pandemic and that has affected the labor market, that there are still jobs out there. And it's all about adjusting your strategy to be able to uncover those jobs. And some other important information that Alexi spoke about is how Some of these changes will continue to remain after the pandemic is over, such as having interviews over video and doing some work from home, possibly global competition for jobs, maybe a combination of remote work and back to the office and so on. So I'm sure that you're probably wondering about how you personally can get some support and guidance on this. Let us know. Send us any questions that you have in the chat. I'll make sure to also include our email address, careerservices@yorkvilleu.ca and careerservices@torontofilmschool.ca.
And yeah, and the takeaway from this is that, yes, it is currently tough finding work and there is a lot of changes, but there are a lot of opportunities made as well. And a lot of industries that were struggling before are starting to thrive a little bit more. Awesome. Do we have any questions that came up through chat? With great networking power comes great responsibilities. Yes, I completely agree with that. And that a lot of the information that we gave on these ways to find people is very important, to treat it with the respect it deserves. That if you are reaching out to someone through LinkedIn, that you are doing it in a way where it shows that you're asking them for a favor, to hear from their viewpoints and see how their industry is being affected. And be mindful that not to harass the person there, because it could be the difference between your email getting deleted or them actually meeting with you and considering you.
So we actually have a question. Hello, when setting up the appointment with Career Services, should we include our current resume at the same time? Yes, definitely. And it doesn't really matter which stage of the program you are, because some of you might be looking for, maybe a part-time job during studies just to support yourself, and you're looking for, just any type of job, or maybe you're graduating soon and you want to make sure that you have a professional resume. We can help you in both ways, both with your more generic business type resume and with, let's say if you're Toronto Film School student and you're looking for a film production program, industry resume, we can help you with that as well. So no matter where you are at the moment, we meet you and just deal with what you have and help you with your resume.
Yep. Yeah. And you have access to with us from now till up to 6 months after you graduate. So even if you haven't graduated yet, reach out to us. We could help prepare you for that. Or if you have graduated and are finding that you're struggling with the labor market as well, we are here to help you with each step of the way. Keep in mind, we're not miracle workers that I can't force a company to hire, but we're there to support you with each step. So you're not alone. You have a whole team behind you helping you step by step to go through it. I'm sorry, I noticed that we also had another question in the chat. Any specific advice for MACP students who are graduated with no previous experience? Yeah, if you are graduating without any experience and trying to get into that, volunteering is key to actually build on those skills and those networks to actually gain some of that experience. With the program, you are required to do an internship. So that internship is very valuable experience in its own right, and something that can be used on your resume to really show that you have that ability. If you are limited with how much experience you have, there are other places that you could also look for work, such as youth shelters have counselors on their payroll, and that might be a place that might get overlooked in people's regular search when they're just looking at clinics. Or look for corporations that you think are big enough to have those support networks and look at their websites directly to see if those options are there. But for a lot of the MACP students that I found, a lot of them have experience working at call centers for crisis lines and things like that as well, as a way to kind of build up on your experience while still adhering to a stay-at-home orders or other ways that you could work remotely. So yes, definitely volunteer, use those volunteer opportunities as a network builder, and use your colleagues around you as well to see if they have any opportunities, and use each other as a network backbone as well.
Okay, any other questions?
Okay. Please remember that we are available to you as a team. There's 3 of us, and we are available to help out any student from any program in any geographic location. So just reach out to us and ask for some help at careerservices@yorkvilleu.ca and careerservices@torontofilmschool.ca. And keep in mind that our services are free to you. I also wanted to let you know that we host these bi-weekly webinars. So in other words, every second week at this time. And our next one coming up is on March the 11th. That's going to be hosted by Natalia Markman. And the topic is going to be managing your online presence in your job search. So please be sure to join us.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for taking part, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one as well. Take care.